then, so that's the reflective thing. Mutable earth. It's practical. I need to have certain comforts. I'm not sleeping on the floor. You know, I'm not. She might not like cat. She might not like. There's a part of her with the Mars that might be a bit adventuristic, but normally you would expect this Virgo moon wouldn't like bugs or fussy things that disturb or make her less than secure. Of course, since it's mutable, you make her secure in one way, there'll be 4 or 5 other ways you need to try and adjust. You're not adjusting your behavior, you're adjusting how you put energy out and how you comment on what she's doing. That's how she's taking things in. That's a great job. That was fantastic. Who did that? Oh, you did. Wonderful. That's good feedback. You're not going to say, who did this? Or just takes off of, or whatever. Like the negative feedback will go in right away and invoke a very strong reaction. Deep down, it won't show so much outwardly, but it'll be going on there. So the mutable, the earth, the practical side, need to have things, need to be comfortable, healthy, have the practical hygiene around her. That's the Virgo. Yeah, and then again, it's ruled by Mercury. So how she lives, and she's going to have a system of how she does everything. She does the dishes. She'll separate the spoons and the forks and the knives. She won't dump them all in and just, that's the Aries way, dump everything in and just deal with it. You know, but that's not, she'll have a system for how she does things and how things are around the house. You certainly, with this moon in Virgo in the 4th house like this, you wouldn't have, even just the moon in Virgo itself, but down in the 4th house, I don't think you would dare to put a painting up in her house without asking permission first, without making sure she likes it first. Because if she didn't like it, it would become quickly known. But the Mercury is right education, right thinking, how to express oneself. So with the critical Virgo moon, and that Mercury is over in the 3rd house, you just see it, but there's the need to make things perfect, and she's likely to express her discomfort or anything that makes you insecure almost too quickly. Okay, when you put it into the houses, so the rulership you're working on, that's Virgo, you have to get a right idea, you have to think right, you have to change the way you're thinking to see how you need to, something's not working, you got to figure out how to adjust it, how to make it better. That's that improving moon in Virgo. In the 4th house, it's setting, it's taking things in, which I've been half interpreting all the way through. It's setting, taking things in, and it's below the horizon, taking things into me. So it's in the feeling quadrant, in the house of security, in the home, in the 4th house, home, security. So I need to feel secure. I need to be exactly this way. If something's out of place, it's not going to be secure. Now, at the same time, since she's that responsive, she's going to have been, since the moon is also the mother, where you get your habits from to begin with, she's going to be very finicky and maybe competitive with the mother. Doesn't necessarily mean good or bad, but there's a strong influence there. Not bad, there's not difficult aspects, but we'll get to those in a minute. For the quadrant, it's the feeling quadrant, the feeling planet, the moon in the feeling quadrant, taking things in the house that's most secure for the moon to be in. So being secure, really important, being healthy, eating right, these are all strong issues. It's not that she couldn't go a little wild, but she still will be very fussy or aware of doing it. It's more inclined to be eating healthy and more have a specific routine. Now, it's an angular house. So again, she'll respond, but there'll be a strong reaction to what's secure or not. I need to have this, it needs to be this way. It's in a water house of judgmentalness. So it's fussy and judgmental by sign and by house about security. Now, when you start thinking of who would I mean, the moon shows up when you live with someone. So if you live with someone, they're going to have to relate to this specific moon who wants to do everything or has opinion about everything, how it should be done. And a sensitivity if you're not doing things exactly right. Yes, dear. Okay. So, yeah, the cadence, the water, that's basically it. That's enough to bring the moon things that it's very low. But when you look at the aspects to the moon, there's a sextile to the sun, sextile to Venus, nice aspects. There's no big squares or oppositions, no direct oppositions to this moon. But her moon conjuncts Mars. That conjunction adds a lot of power and force and adrenaline to the sensitivity, to the analysis of things, to what's secure. So, and since it's both the Mars, they're both responding, there's a need to respond, maybe to do everything for the person that she would be with, or perhaps to be over assertive about her memories, about what's secure, how she feels. It's going to be a strong thing. And that over assertiveness, the Mars adds the edginess to it. Maybe she never sits still. Maybe she doesn't sit still. She's always doing something, not sitting still. And you just want to sit around and cuddle and be calm and quiet. So you can only sit calm and quiet for so long. Not going to want to be smothered or held in. But this Mars adds a force, adds an assertiveness, adds an impatience, adds a restlessness to the already mutable, adaptable moon. So things would change fast. She'd have to make, I got to do this, I got to do that. So she could be doing this, keeping busy with different things and have all sorts of things, but she's very assertive on it. It would be harder to wind down and relax. You could know her a long time. You wouldn't necessarily see this. You might see it from the moon in some ways, but if you, the minute you would lose, if you moved in or she stayed over at your place, you would see it in a second. It's not the most patient, but it's not, I mean, you look at the chart, it's not afflicted. It's set up kind of nicely, except for the aspect of Mars, which in this case would be generally considered an affliction. But I would just say there's a need to be active, the need to have physical habits, to be working out, to be doing things, to burn energy off, just to feel secure. If she didn't burn the energy off, this could implode in terms of sarcastic or angry mental judgments about what's secure, what's not secure, or how stupid someone is for not being sensitive or doing things properly. When you're doing a chart and you don't know the person, you're making a caricature. You're not seeing the person, you're building up this image of what you think the person is. It's going to be close, but it's not going to be, you're going to see them exactly. They're it exactly. They define it exactly. You're just tuning into this. So this is one of the things to tune in. Certainly with the moon, especially in a woman's chart, the moon is your link to, is part of your link to your mom and the habits. And Mars, there's a competitive link to mom. I can prove I can do it as good as mom ever did. I can prove it. Sure, I'll do everything for mom. I'll do anything. Or it could be whether it's positive or negative. She's always telling me what to do. I did it perfectly. It's not good enough. Like, it can go either way. You can't decide on these factors which way goes. You're seeing the links and the general attitudes to how this will work. This is very different from someone with a moon in Capricorn or moon in Cancer up in the midheaven or in other houses. And as we took the time to the planets and signs, moon and signs, moon and houses, moon aspects, you go over these and you take some time to reflect on each of them. Anytime something hits a nerve, you stop there for a minute and reflect. You see it in context and try and get your perspective on it. This is developing your astrological literacy and clarity. Okay, the technique is simple, not to be intimidated by it, but just taking the time to do all the different steps and put them in. That allows you to think in depth. And sometimes just thinking quickly, your quick association of picking Venus and Moon in critical Virgo, analytical Virgo. In the 4th house, you have someone who's fussy at home, conjunct by Mars and pushy or bossy. You could see that, but it doesn't have to be just that. So every time you leave out one of the categories in your assessment, you're thinking a little less deep. You might get away with it. You might have a general thing you can say, but eventually, if something's serious, you're going to have to go through these things. So usually, as we get to know astrology more, when we see transits, we see when something happens, when the moon gets afflicted. That's the time when you go in and you're having to deal with it. And it could be at any one of these layers. And then you go back and redo the in-depth thinking on that planet. Okay, so I'm not really set up so much for feedback around this, but I just want to go through these stages. You'll hear it yourself, and it's not going to be exactly perfectly defining who you are. It's defining aspects, facets. Each of these factors, each of these categories, each of the planets are different facets on a jewel. And most of the facets are covered over and we're not even consciously working with them. And slowly we start refining them. As you learn astrology, you start freeing up and becoming aware of the different layers of consciousness in your life, in your being. And that opens up, that greater sensitivity opens up a lot of doors for living better or living more fully, more wholesomely. So it's the way astrology helps you get your houses in order, to put things in order, to be aligned with it as best as you can. When you're aligned with it, it tends to work better. And you see the good and bad, or the ways to work it that would be better than worse. And always we start on a grosser level and eventually refine it out of that. No, it's just part of growing up in life. So, okay, if we're going to look at the sun, we're doing the same thing. So I didn't pull out all the categories of the sign of the house. I'm just doing it in my mind as we're talking, and the aspects too. But there's lots of aspects in a chart. You can see all the different aspects to a person's natal chart. But the main factors, if there's a major factor, it's going to be in a major aspect. It's going to be one of the conjunction, square, opposition, and sometimes the sextiles and the trines, although they're a little lazier. But this conjunction, squares, and oppositions scream out. You'll see these stress patterns right away. And when you get the semi-squares, I think they're subtler influences. But at this level, it's more of a distraction. You want to be able to get the main things, planets and signs, and the main aspects. And what's not a main aspects, you don't figure at this level. You're not defining a person by the aspects, you're just tuning into how much stress is affecting that planet and the other planet at the other end. Okay, so if you look at the sun, which is your sense of your goals, your sense of purpose, your sense of I'm going into the future, I'm going to be somebody, I'm important, I've got this to do, I've got to do this, I'm going to be somebody. That I have confidence in myself. I have confidence for what? For going forward. Not about going back, holding on to the past, being proud of the past. That's a different thing. That's the moon. So thinking about the past, feeling about the past. But that's why many people in abusive or difficult situations, they feel bad about the past. They have bad memories and they project an insecurity as they go out because they don't feel they've been nurtured enough to go forward. This is not the most afflicted moon. This is a pretty good moon. It's not really that afflicted. When we're looking at the sun, we're trying to see, so I need to be being secure before I go forward. But the moon phase is saying, go forward, leave the past. They see, here's going forward, here's my way, here's the other way. Which way do I go? So you start to see how these things play around a little bit. Just quick associations. But then you're seeing the layers of patterning that happens.